Well, put it this way. I'm going to the world's greatest swordsman. All I have is my destiny. And who is that? Zorro. Zorro, that's right. Zorro. He is my favorite swordsman.
And overwhelmingly elected with George money, and they're a major cause.
Ad also suggested that the GOP frontrunner supports Treasury Secretary Tim Ginthner. Now, this is when Romney was running against Obama. An unpopular figure among Republicans, and that his financial backing from Wall Street executives shows some form of concordance with Obama. Put my podcast out this morning, and I said, I'm going to take the weekend off, watch conference, and let all y'all go to your other people to watch your conference feedback and go on your little things and stuff like that. I was like, well, maybe I'll put out one thing about conference. But I wanted to relax. And then my wheels started spinning, and spinning bad. Because what if this isn't what we think it is, brothers and sisters? And then my wheels were spinning bad, and maybe yours will too. And this is just an imagine, if you will, kind of thing. Okay? It doesn't mean that it's real, but it has things that connect together like Maui. Okay, I'll just say it like Maui. We're going to put this Tim Ballard thing, I wouldn't say to bed, but we put it on the shelf. And then when things maybe unravel later or become more transparent or unveiled, then we get it back off the shelf and we assess it accordingly, right? Well, what if things aren't what we imagine? What if we're looking at this Tim Ballard thing from the wrong angle? So imagine, if you will, a world that we already live in, consumed by darkness, where hope is but a distant memory. Evil reigns supreme. Its insatiable appetite devours everything in its path, leaving only despair in its wake. Sound familiar? The devil manifests himself in countless forms, transforming hearts and minds into vessels of malevolence. He whispers his terrible promises, and most of all, seducing and enticing those who dare succumb to his temptations. I'm talking about corporate greed. Do you ever wonder why some companies always put profit before people? I had a professor on today from BYU who spoke about those very things, Richard Draper, and I'm going to have his video up within the next couple of days. He spoke about the Mahanic principle. He spoke about the book of Revelation and the satanic Godhead. We spoke about many things, and you're going to love that video. You're going to cherish it. It's priceless. You're going to know what 666 means. I know that's what it means now. So let me tell you a story that is basically an untold story. When the devil takes over corporations, it all starts with a seemingly innocent agreement, a simple contract signed in blood. The executives, lured by promises of power and success, unknowingly sell their souls to the devil. And with the strike of a pen, the devil's influence creeps into bedrooms and boardrooms, polluting decision making. In the pursuit of wealth, morality is sacrificed at the altar of corporate profits. Yes, brothers and sisters, I'm saying this isn't a fairy tale. This isn't imaginary. This is real. A world where ethical practices are thrown out the window. When the devil takes control of corporations, they become ruthless machines. They prioritize short-term gains over long-term sustainability. Oh, don't go away. I'm going to tell you exactly how this relates to Brother Ballard. They exploit workers, poison the environment, and contribute to the ever-widening wealth gap. You saw the lawyer. I can't make any comments. Do you know why? Because 9 times out of 10, people respond that way when there's nothing to give. People that have been bought by greed. Now, I don't know her personally, but I can almost guarantee you that's what's going on. So I want to be careful here while I discuss certain companies. In March 2018, our favorite media company that smeared Tim underwent a major leadership change. Now, you understand why I have to do that. I can't say that. The algorithm or the AI will pick it up. I guarantee you. Co-founder Shane Smith stepped down as CEO, but then again, they might recognize all the names too. So I'm doomed either way. Transitioning to the role of executive chairman, Nancy DeBook, former CEO of A&E Networks, took over as the new CEO. With Smith focusing on content creation and strategic partnerships, our favorite media company aimed to grow its reach and influence. In August 2018, Blank Munchies and Fremantle Media partnered with 555 Group to gain control of the food hall at American Dream Meadowlands. Anticipation grew as the food hall's opening was expected in April 2019. Despite these ambitions, our favorite media company faced challenges. In November 2018, the company announced a plan to trim its workforce by 10 to 15%, relying on attrition rather than layoffs. Interesting. Okay, let's just call it the company. But CEO Nancy DeBook remained optimistic, assuring the audience at the New York Times Deal Book Conference that the company would return to profitability the following year. Seeking further funding in March 2019, the company looked to raise an additional $200 million. May 1st, 2019 marked a significant change for the company as it consolidated its web challenges into one central platform, merging various sections like Munchies, Noisy, and Motherboard. The company also ended its block on industry ad keywords, expanding its advertising partnerships. In May 2020, the company faced financial difficulties and announced layoffs of more than 150 staff members. So they were struggling. Even Bill Maher was investing in it a long time ago. And even some conservatives way back in the old days. Then came June 2020 when the company launched an investigation into allegations of a toxic work environment at subsidiary company Refinery 29. March 2020 saw the company organizing the Azimuth Music Festival in Saudi Arabia, signaling a return to the region. However, the company's name was not utilized in marketing materials, and secrecy surrounding their involvement was enforced. The company appointed Naja Belen White as the global CMO in October 2020, overseeing branding and promotions. Meanwhile, Van Scott joined as VP of Corporate Communications in April 2021. The company faced controversy in the same month as it was criticized for photoshopping images of Khmer Rouge genocide victims. Okay. They were probably doing a story on it and used Photoshop. We all do that. By January 2023, the company was exploring the possibility of selling itself due to continued financial struggles. So, that company that got the request for comment from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints struggled actually since 2018. They've had financial struggles. Here's where things become clear. But But then some will say, Troy, come on, that has nothing to do with it. And maybe they're right, but I digress. Let's go on. Unfortunately, on May 1st, 2023, the company filed for bankruptcy with Fortress Investment Group, expected to take control as a primary debt holder. They're big, brothers and sisters. They're big, and they have a lot of influence in the world, put it that way. After a series of negotiations, the company accepted a buyout offer totaling $350 million, which closed in August of 2023. Well, put it this way. I'm going to the world's greatest swordsman. All I have is my destiny. And who is that? Zorro. Zorro, that's right, Zorro. He is my favorite swordsman. Yes, folks, we live in that world. So, alongside Fortress Investment Group, our greatest swordsman, Zorro, with his funding management company, and Monroe Capital, invested that money. Invested $225 million as a credit bid for nearly all of its assets. The following month, our company accepted the consortium's increased offer of $350 million prior to the bankruptcy auction. The company drew criticisms for generous executive compensation packages while employees dealt with layoffs and unpaid company bills. The sale was closed in August 2023. Okay. How long ago was that, brothers and sisters? August 2023. Our man, you see that guy? Our man, along with these other big banks owned by BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, bought the company. So, what if, I'm just saying, what if, after all this closed a month ago, folks, a month ago, who's going after Tim Ballard? He's not just going after Tim Ballard. This was not just a story of the rise and fall of some poor little company, showcasing a journey of successes and struggles. Could this be an attack on the church, an attack on righteousness, attack on the church, attack on Ballard? And what if that request for comment didn't say all those things necessarily? But the company knew, that media company knew, that they could say anything they wanted to. And if there was any backlash and we came out and said, no, we didn't say that, that's false. Do you see who owns that and who bought it a month ago? I'm sorry, brothers and sisters, but I feel like I'm led. After conference, and I just right now got through watching the prophet speak, and do you guys feel I love him so much? And we pray for him as you do. He's got that look. He's got a little bit of glaziness in his eyes, and hopefully that's just something to do with, maybe he's medicated because of his back. He's got some pain probably. He's probably in a lot of pain. But, you know, we often wonder, are we going to see him next General Conference? Anyway, it's emotional. We get emotional over the prophets because there are prophets. Yes, the apostles. And Jeffrey R. Holland, we pray for him too, and others, and Elder Ballard, President Ballard, and all of them. They're not too far away from President Nelson in age. But you know, we got emotional when President Monson was there too as well. Anyway, I needed to add to the video. So do you see where I'm going with this? Did you see? I can't even remember what I said, but I do know this. When it comes to Mitt Romney, and I'm not saying Mitt Romney has been involved with anything, but I've done my own investigating. And you guys remember Newt Gingrich when he went on Fox News and he mentioned the sword fighter Zorro, right? The Zorro is not only a sword fighter, but he's also a philanthropist. Do you remember when Newt went on Fox and was told, was basically cut off, right? We all remember that. And if you haven't, if you don't remember that, I did film it, but then it was taken down. Wasn't that 3 years ago? I believe that was 3 years ago. Take a look.
Speaker Gingrich, I know you have a final thought for us.
Yeah, look, the number one problem in almost all these cities is elected, left-wing, anti-police, pro-criminal district attorneys who refuse to keep people locked up. Just yesterday, they put somebody back on the street who's wanted for 2 different murders in New York City. You cannot solve this problem, and both Harris and Biden have talked very proudly about what they call progressive district attorneys. Progressive district attorneys are anti-police, pro-criminal, and overwhelmingly elected with George money, and they're a major cause of the violence we're seeing because they keep putting the violent criminals back on the street.
I'm not sure we need to bring into this.
I was going to say you get the last word, Speaker.
He paid for it. I mean, why can't we discuss the fact that millions of dollars he spent?
I agree with Melissa. George Soros doesn't need to be a part of this conversation.
Okay, we're going to move on. A historic day at the White House. We covered it from stem to stern.
So I thought I'd share that little funny bit with you. But it's true. So he was cut off by some of the anchors. It shocked me because these female anchors, there was 2 of them. They're like, no, it's not. It's not. No, it's not him. He didn't do it. He didn't do it. He's got nothing to do with it. No, you're wrong, Newt. You're wrong. And then Fox cut away from him. But of course, Harris Faulkner kind of saved the day. She brought it back and apologized to Newt. But that was it. That was it. So in 2012, I did some heavy investigating, brothers and sisters. Our friend Mitt Romney has had ties with the sword fighter Zorro, the philanthropist and sword fighter, the sword fighter. Okay, remember I said sword fighter. Washington Post, Newt Gingrich's claimed that you-know-who, the man with all the money and the plan, approved Mitt Romney. Let's see. We can't afford 2 sword fighters approved candidates this fall. So he was backing... video unavailable, by the way, on this website that talks about that. It talks about the sword fighter, Zorro. So Newt Gingrich campaign ad referring to Mitt Romney and President Obama. So the sword fighter, that big rich guy that's got the company that just bought our favorite media company, was backing Mitt Romney, was investing in Mitt Romney and investing in Obama. I think for most Republican voters, the idea of trying to nominate a sword fighter approved candidate is not a very appealing idea. That was Gingrich during a Fox interview. That was February 3rd, 2012. So Newt mentioned Mitt Romney and his ties with the sword fighter. Now, the sword fighter just bought our favorite media company a month ago. And look what our favorite media company did to the guy that would be going up against Mitt Romney's son. Who else is telling you this, brothers and sisters, but me? If you don't share this, you just made all my work go to waste. You have to honk the horn and let people know what I just did.
Because I did a lot to get to this point.
Anyway, I put a lot of work into this. Newt has progressively, this was 2012, progressively turned up the heat with his rhetoric against Mitt Romney since falling flat in the first two nominating contests this year. This is written by the Washington Post, but Newt was right. He wasn't just disgruntled. He had a reason to say what he did. It seemed to work when he pulled off an upset in South Carolina, but the former House Speaker finished a distant second in the recent Florida and Nevada primaries. His latest web ad suggests that ultra-liberal billionaire, you-know-who, supports both Romney and President Obama. Right-left paradigm, brothers and sisters. Whoever he gets into office, he did it with the Bushes. Whoever gets, and he's not, our sword fighter's not the only guy. There's plenty more where he comes from. Okay. But it is true. Sometimes when you get a guy like Trump that doesn't need the sword fighter's money, you get in trouble. So is there a tie here with Romney, Tim Ballard, and our sword fighter? And then he goes on to say, this ad goes on to say, the new ad also suggested that the GOP frontrunner supports Treasury Secretary Tim Ginthner. Now, this is when Romney was running against Obama. An unpopular figure among Republicans, and that his financial backing from Wall Street executives shows some form of concordance with Obama. We looked at the entire sword fighters interview to find out where the billionaire philanthropists really stand. AI is going to say philanthropist. Somebody's mentioned a philanthropist. Really stands on the 2012 candidates. We also examined the issue of Romney Wall Street backing and his distance in Ginthner to find out whether Gingrich's ad hit the mark. Of course, they fact-checked and found out that it was wrong. But this was 2012, before we all learned a lot. It's been 11 years later, and a lot has happened where a lot more people are putting tinfoil hats on. So there you have it, brothers and sisters, and I'll leave the link to this Washington Post article. So is Mitt, the sword fighter, Tim Ballard, and Mitt's son, what are they all having? Oh, and our favorite media company that was just bought by the sword fighter a month ago is using, that's his company now. He's using it to hit piece on Tim. It's all there. Oh, and the church can't say anything. They can't say anything. The church, if they said anything against this big time guy, in other words, it could possibly be that we've been implicating Doug. Well, I've been implicating. No, I haven't been implicating Doug Anderson. I've just been saying that he's part of the process of where there were some words exchanged and emails given, and that company saying that they received this request for comment exactly the way they said, and that they didn't embellish it. What I'm saying is this company didn't receive the statement that way. They just received something maybe from the media department just stating, no, Tim Ballard is not affiliated with the church in any way, or there's no ties. And yes, he and Elder Ballard have been friends in the past. And that's it. Basically detaching themselves from Tim Ballard politically, because the church doesn't want to be tied to anyone politically. And then it was just sent to them. The company can say that the church said this, and that, and all these evil things, because they know that the church knows who owns them now. They're not going to speak out and say, no, we didn't give a statement like that to the company, because the company thinks that the church knows that if they did say anything, that there's too much power now backing that company, and the hammer would come down on the church. There might be hell to pay as far as gathering Israel.